again, if you've been personally victimized by someone telling you that you'll forever be alone and that you're going to be lonely if you're not with people. For the past couple of years, I have learned what it means to be alone. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm lonely. I've always been the kind of person who's had to depend on herself, because when I would ask for help or try to depend on others or rely on others, I would always get let down. And that's when I realized I basically have to do everything myself, because when I want help or when I ask for it, I don't get it, and that's frustrating. And so I just sort of gave up and realized that I just had to literally rely on myself. And then over time, I really learned how to appreciate my own company and live in solitude. So if you're somebody who wants to practice solitude and learn how to embrace it, make sure you subscribe down below and join the Kitten Squad, and make sure you continue watching this video. The way that I define solitude is basically when you are comfortable in your own presence. You love your own company. Sometimes you want to say that you're your own best friend, and you really do enjoy learning to appreciate time on your own. When you're alone, that doesn't necessarily mean your loneliness. And I'm going to get a little bit more into the misconception of lonely versus alone in a little bit, but the way you define loneliness is when you are unhappy or uncomfortable about being alone and not having someone to be there with you. You can feel sad when you're not in the presence of someone or you don't have company, and that's completely different. For me, I believe solitude is such a positive and beautiful thing. Even though I am an extrovert, I can tell you that we even really value our me time or our alone time, and that really does help us recharge. I promise that extroverts do get drained out after time to time, and so it's beautiful to have solitude. I think solitude is incredibly therapeutic. I mean, these are some of the ways that I spend time by myself. I really enjoy laying out by my pool at my apartment. Even if there's people around in the area, I'm not with them. They're not a part of my group. I am a part of myself. I am there for me and to get some sun, to enjoy the pool, and to enjoy being present outside and within nature. Now that the weather in Portland is just getting warmer and warmer, I'm going to continue to do this more and more. And of course, there'll be times where I will have my friends doing this with me, but I love the luxury that I have in my apartment to be able to relax by the pool, especially doing it in the middle of the day because I have that privilege to do so. Another way that I practice solitude, and hopefully you can too, and this one a lot of women may not want to do, and believe me, I totally understand why, but it is to take a hike on maybe a really easy trail by yourself. And I know a lot of women are probably not going to be up for that, and again, totally get it. You know what? I'm going to be a risk taker, be that daredevil that I am. And if I do go on a hike by myself, I do make sure I do something really easy, or I pick a trail that is pretty popular, so in case anything were to happen, there would, be witnesses, of course. There is something just so peaceful about taking a hike. You're enjoying nature, you're soaking up and reflecting on all of that energy that's out there. And I think that is one of the most beautiful things, and it's good exercise. And if you're not comfortable doing a hike by yourself, then of course you can always take a walk around your block, your neighborhood, around your city, whatever you're comfortable or what's easier for you. Taking a walk is one of my favorite things. I call them my hot girl walks. I feel like that term has kind of been used for a while now. I like to take my hot girl walks, and again, once the weather warms up, that's when I start doing them. So when I take those walks, I use that time to really reflect on who I am. I will basically think about, how do I want to de-stress? How do I want to recharge? What are some things that are on my mind that I can think about? And I will either listen to a really good podcast, or I can list some music that's going to really energize me. By doing all of this, it really just helps me stay very grounded and really allows me to be really comfortable in my own presence. Another thing that I like to do is to literally sit on my bed and watch Netflix or a movie by myself. I mean, I'm subscribed to Paramount Plus, Netflix, I'm on a family plan, and then I have Hulu, I have Disney Plus, I have all the streaming services that you could probably think of. I'm always open to watching new shows, and I find a good way to balance my time by not sitting on my bed just binge watching stuff. I've been able to do a good job with that, but sometimes solitude is just sitting on your bed, whether it's reading a book or watching a movie or a show that makes you happy and brings you joy. That is like one of the most comforting and peaceful things that I just recommend, and it's probably one of the easiest things. Another way that I practice solitude that involves sitting on my bed is actually more of like a negative experience, but actually still positive. Sometimes I just need to sit on my bed and be alone and cry about something if a situation or a problem has arose and I feel the need to process my emotions. So for an example, when I had to deal with the fire of the horse farm that I grew up with, I needed to be alone for a couple of days after I heard that information. And I really wanted to just sit on my bed and just cry and cry and cry. Because I was unwell, I was uncomfortable about what I had processed. And I had to find a way to process it even further. And that was by processing my emotions and realizing that I need to be by myself. Sometimes being around other people isn't necessarily going to be the right thing for me in that moment. I love taking baths. I think taking a bath and just in solitude, I could light candles, I could drink wine by myself, have a bath bomb to really just relax and just basically take care of myself. I hope you're kind of seeing a pattern here that practicing solitude and embracing it is literally a form of self-care. And I feel like solitude is this one concept in life that people always forget. And I think it's something that we should always add to our self-care routine. It is literally the perfect reflection period. And I know I've said that so many times, but I really just can't stress it enough. You can really learn a lot about yourself when you spend more time with yourself. And the more you spend time with yourself and you find things that truly give you peace, the more comfortable you're gonna be by becoming your own best friend and really loving what you do. I also think that practicing solitude is a really great way to become more expressive and creative. It really does foster that. I love that when I'm by myself, all these ideas come rolling in terms of content, whether it's for my YouTube channel or for my podcast or even a TikTok video or reel. I'm always finding ways to foster creativity by being by myself. And it's funny, sometimes even my own dreams will allow me to foster those ideas because, as Lil Nas X says, it's just me and my dreams. And I also do think that practicing and embracing solitude really allows you to be more productive. As someone with ADHD, productivity is something that I can really struggle with. And so I have to find ways that if I'm going to practice solitude, how can I be a little bit more productive but still also take care of myself? I really enjoy Notion for something like that, where that keeps me organized. And I also like building out my morning routines, my spiritual routine. That also keeps me grounded and allows me to really self-reflect. So remember when I said how people have this misconception that being alone and being lonely are synonymous? Because, woo, they couldn't be any more wrong. Being alone and being by yourself is not the same thing as being lonely. I feel like I defined it in my own terms earlier. I just know that being by yourself, especially for single people, single women especially, people love to give us crap about how we're gonna be alone for the rest of our lives because of X, Y, and Z. And they act like that being alone is a bad thing. And they just couldn't be any more delusional. Being alone is not the same as being lonely. I don't feel uncomfortable if I don't have people around me. I don't feel like I'm missing out on something. I have friends, I have family, I have a huge support system, I have my cat. There's always people in my life that I care about. Even though I don't have a partner right now, I don't feel lonely because I don't have one. I'm by myself right now because I'm working on finding someone who is going to knock my fucking socks off, and I don't want to settle for something mediocre. So if that means that I have to be alone and not be partnered, that's okay. I'm not going to feel lonely because I have other people in my life that can literally make me not feel lonely. And then the final final thing that I just want to say is balance is key. I think it's really important to have good balance in terms of like your self-care, how you're going to spend time by yourself, and how you're going to spend time with friends. Understand your emotions. Is something telling you that you're just not feeling people right now? Do you need to be by yourself? How often do you need to be by yourself? When does it start driving you crazy? Then that can be a signal saying like, okay, it's time to go meet up with my friends or my family or whoever I can be around. So finding that balance is going to be important. And I really do think that it comes inside within your emotions and in your mental state. I really hope you found embracing solitude to be very helpful. I hope that this has encouraged you to not be scared to become your own best friend, especially if you're single. I really think that this will help you a ton. And if you did like this video and you now want to embrace solitude, do make sure you give it a thumbs up. And with that, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!